Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday evening Bhagavad Gita discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Once again, welcome everyone. So last time we were discussing chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, Opulences of the Supreme. Okay, it's also titled as Vibhuti Yoga. So last time we discussed up to text 11. We covered 8 through 11 as the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna is talking about Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya and Priyojana. Understanding our relationship with the Supreme Lord and understanding the ultimate goal to attain the Supreme Lord, attain the love of love for Krishna, and in between the process, how we can do that. And it's not based on our own endeavor. Ultimately, Krishna helps us to develop that knowledge about the Supreme. Krishna says, Dadhati Buddhi Yogam Tam. So, Dadhami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Yena Mam Upayanti Te. So I give them the understanding, I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. So next, moving forward, text 12 onwards, now we will discuss. So in text 12, Arjuna speaks his realization. Okay, so Arjuna starts speaking. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam ajam vibhu. So here now Arjuna is speaking, saying, I accept that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the ultimate abode. Pavitram, you are the purest. Paramam, you are the supreme. You are eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn and the greatest. So Purusham Shashvatam, Divyam, Adhidevam, Ajam, Vibhum. So in that way, Arjuna is now speaking that I accept you as a Supreme Lord. And it's not that Arjuna is speaking because Krishna is Arjuna's dear friend, so he is trying to, as we say, glorify his own friend. Like sometime, if one person is a very eloquent speaker and his friends may say, oh, you are such a great speaker, you speak so nicely, but not just kind of glorifying him based on what they feel, but on top of that, in addition to that, if somebody says, oh, it's not just my opinion, all other great speakers also glorify you, they also consider you as a great speaker. Or if there's if one of your friend is playing cricket very nicely and you tell, oh, you are a great cricketer, you are a great batsman. So it's not that somebody is speaking out of flattering that person, flattering one's own friend, but On top of that, if somebody says, oh, it's not my viewpoint only, but the other great commentators, they also accept that. They also admit that you are a great batsman. So then it adds to the authority. So same way here, Arjuna is not simply glorifying or trying to flatter Krishna, being his friend. He adds on to that further. It's not just my viewpoint, but other great sages, they also say the same thing. आहुस्त्वं ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षि नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यास स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे. So it's not only my viewpoint, the other great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, they also confirm this about you. And now you yourself are speaking. You now yourself declaring this to me. So I accept you as the Supreme Lord. So Arjuna is, after hearing the message of Krishna, is speaking his own understanding, his own realization. And further, Arjuna says, I totally accept the truth, all that you have told me. So I completely accept that you are the Supreme Lord. Neither the demigods nor the demons can understand your personality. So Arjuna is not just speaking his own understanding, but understanding it based on the authority also. So we have to accept that authority. And what is the authority? Because Krishna himself is speaking, but not just Krishna speaking, but other great personalities have also mentioned the same thing. So once Srila Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and while on the morning walk, he asked his disciples, so how do you know Krishna is God? How do you know Krishna is the Supreme Lord? And Prabhupada will sometime take the role of an atheist to kind of uncheck the understanding of his disciples. He will play the devil's advocate to check their understanding. So he asked the disciples, okay, so how do you know Krishna is the Supreme Lord? And the disciples, they started answering different things. So one of them said, because Prabhupada, it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada, taking the role of an atheist or non-believer, he said, but I don't know, I don't accept Bhagavad Gita. How can I accept Bhagavad Gita? Is there any other pramana that how do you know Krishna is God? And then finally, when nobody was able to answer clearly, then Prabhupada said, because when we chant the name of Krishna, we can relish it, we can realize it, we can feel that reciprocation. If you chant any other names, you do not have that reciprocation. But when you chant the name of Krishna, you feel that reciprocation. That's how we know Krishna is God. But then at another time, in a different part of the world, in a different country, Srila Prabhupada was again on the morning walk and again asked the same question to his disciples who were with him that time. So how do you know Krishna is the Supreme Lord? And one disciple who happened to be in the previous walk also, he was also there in that time also. And he was waiting for his turn, and everybody answered. And then when his turn came, he said, because Prabhupada, when we chant the name of Krishna, we can feel that reciprocation. We can feel that realization. We can have that realization. And Prabhupada this time said, but your realization, your feeling could be illusion also. How can I accept your feeling? And this devotee was scratching his head. But this is what Prabhupada mentioned last time. So this time Prabhupada said, because it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, wherever Krishna is speaking, it says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Those are the words of Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, it's not that Prabhupada is contradicting his own statement, but what is the overall message here? Both things have to be there. We need both. We need the understanding based on Bhagavad Gita, and then we need to have our own practical realization also. Both together can give us this understanding about the Supreme Lord. It's not about just our own feeling, what we think by our own concoction, but there has to be backup by the authority. It has to be backed up, supported by the authority. So sometime a person may say, "Oh, I understand God. I know God, but I do not affiliate myself with any organization, with any society. I do not affiliate myself with any temple. Why?" And that person says, "Oh, I have understanding about God. I have my ideas about the God, but I have not found any organization, any temple which accept my ideas." So what kind of understanding is that? It means you have your own concoction and nobody has accepted your understanding about God. It's like patient, somebody saying, "Oh, I have diagnosed my own disease, but I have not found a doctor who accept my own diagnosis of my disease." So somebody may say, "Oh, I think I have this disease, but I do not have met any doctor who confirms with my diagnosis." So that is same way, that is not the way of understanding about the Supreme Law. It's not about our own concoction. It's not about our own ideas, our own understanding. It has to be backed up by the authority, and that authority is the scriptures. That authority is the previous acharyas. So here Arjuna is not speaking out of flattery, but Arjuna is saying all the previous great personalities, they also accept you as the Supreme Lord, and now you yourself are explaining that to me. So in that way, I am accepting you as the Supreme Lord. And further, now Arjuna asks, okay, so please tell me in detail your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. So how do you pervade all these worlds? How do you create? How do you maintain? How do you annihilate? How I can perceive your presence everywhere? Yeah, I want to understand in what various forms are you to be remembered. So Krishna, please explain to me, how shall I constantly think of you? Okay, so Arjuna want to hear more and more about Krishna's opulences now. So he is now starting to ask about the opulences. And what is he saying? Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardhana bhuyah kathya triptrahai shunvato nasti me amritam. O Janardhana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste that nectar of your words. Okay. So here Arjuna is telling, I am not satisfied in hearing. Please tell me more and more about your opulences. So he is asking Krishna to speak about vibhutis, and not just vibhutis. Vibhuti means something extraordinary manifestation. So he is saying, please explain to me your extraordinary manifestations within this material world. Because by looking something extraordinary within this material world, how we can remember you by seeing that something extraordinary, how we can connect with you. So yogam, vibhuti, bhuti means something of this manifestation. Vibhuti means something extraordinary of this manifestation. And yoga means which will lead us to connect with you. So some extraordinary things in this world, when we see them, when we hear about them, how we can connect with you by remembering those things. So that is Vibhuti Yogam. Okay. So basically, there could be something which is very opulent. Okay. There could be one person who is extraordinary. So one among many. Okay, like there could be one cricketer who is so great, and people start making that cricketer as their ideal. Some Bollywood, Hollywood star may be very handsome, and that also represents some opulence. Ultimately, that reflects the opulence of the Supreme. But seeing that opulence or seeing some handsome Bollywood, Hollywood star, it may not lead to yoga, but it leads to bhoga. It reminds somebody of some material enjoyment. But here, the opulences which Arjuna is asking Krishna to explain, some extraordinary things within this material world which will help us to connect with Krishna. So there could be one among many, but how that one among many can lead us to go to one beyond many, okay, one which is beyond this material creation. Because somebody who is something special among many people within this material world may not be special forever. Okay, there could be one among many, but that one among many doesn't remain special forever. For example, many people started considering, let's say, Tendulkar as, oh, you are such a great cricketer. And he is like God. The people started thinking him, comparing him like God. Oh, you are our God. So cricket is our religion and Tendulkar is our God. That's the kind of statement people made. But now that opulence doesn't remain forever. Okay, as sometime when that person loses or doesn't perform as well, then people start telling the same person, oh, now better maybe you retire. Okay, now the same potency is not there anymore, so maybe you should considering retire, let somebody else come ahead. So that one among many doesn't remain forever, but how the opulences within these material world, they can take us beyond this material experience and take us to the transcendental realm to connect with Krishna. So that is the meaning of Vibhuti Yoga. Okay. And Arjuna is asking this question, please explain to me all your vibhutis because I am not satiated in hearing about you. More and more I hear about you, I want to taste that nectar. So generally when we read any book, sometimes some book is very good. So you want to read that book very carefully, each and every line. You don't want to miss anything. And if there is a great book or then you want to read that book again and again. So if something is good, you want to read it very carefully. But if something is great book, you want to read it again and again because every time you read, you think, oh, last time I read, maybe I missed this part, or you understood a new meaning from that. So you want to read that again and again. But here we are talking about the greatest book, Bhagavad Gita, the message of Krishna. It's greatest. It's not about that we get to understand newer and newer meanings when we read Bhagavad Gita, but it is about it's a two-way path. It's our understanding also matures, but it's not just based on our own effort, it is revelation also. Krishna reveals himself, Krishna reveals that message of Bhagavad Gita to us. So we also develop better understanding, but Krishna is also revealing. So both way it's going. And that is what Arjuna is telling because I am not satisfied hearing about your glories. I want to hear more and more. And in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada is quoting another verse from Bhagavatam. This was the rishis of Nemesharanya. They made that same statement to Sutta Goswami. Vayam tu na vitraptyama uttama shloka vikarme yat shrunvatam rasa jnanam swado swado pade pade. So they are saying one can never be satisfied even though one continuously hear the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by the excellent prayers. Those who have entered into the transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastime of the Lord. Swado swado pade pade. So more they hear, more they enjoy, more they relish. So same thing which Arjuna is telling here. I want to hear about your glories. Please speak more and more. Please speak about your vibhutis. And in response to Arjuna's inquiry, now from text 19 onwards till text 41, Krishna is going to speak about his opulences, his material, extraordinary material manifestations, which represents Krishna's opulences. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Hantate Katamishyami Divya Hai Atma Vibhutayah Pradhanatyah Kurukshreshtha Naste Anto Vistarasya Me. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Hanta. Hanta means, again, this is the sign of joy. Okay, it's the expression of joy. Yes, I will tell you my splendorous manifestations, but only those which are prominent. Pradhanyatah. So I will tell you only which are prominent. O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. Now, hearing this statement from Krishna, somebody may question why Krishna is speaking like that. Is this Krishna is some arrogant god? He is saying, oh, I will speak my opulences which are primary, prominent only because my opulences are limitless. Is it some sort of pride? Because let's say, just consider it with as a analogy. If you are invited into a some get together, okay, and they ask everybody, please introduce yourself. So everybody is going to speak about their brief introduction, and if you say, oh, my glories are unlimited, I'm going to only speak little bit about myself. And other people may think, oh, this person seems to be very arrogant. He is speaking, my glories are unlimited. I will speak only little bit about myself. Is Krishna also speaking same way here? Arjuna asked him to glorify, to tell about his opulences, and Krishna said, my opulences are unlimited, and I'm going to speak little bit some prominent things. No, here Krishna is not speaking based on arrogance or based on pride. Arjuna has asked about his glories, and Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, he is going to speak only few things. Because moreover than our words, actions speak better than words. And what are the actions of Krishna depicted here? Krishna has taken the role of the chariot driver of Arjuna. He is sitting on the seat of a driver, holding the reins of the horses and a whip in his hand. A power hungry person, fame hungry person will never accept a role of a chariot driver. So Krishna is not somebody who is power hungry or who is fame hungry. Krishna is serving his own devotee. He is taking the role of a servant. So Krishna is not speaking up out of pride or out of arrogance. He is just responding to Arjuna's inquiry. And why I'm mentioning this point? Because sometimes we may counter such people who may say, oh, why you keep saying Krishna is the Supreme Lord? He is speaking like arrogant person. No, it's not arrogance, it's the truth. If somebody comes to you and tells you, please give your introduction, and you say, oh, I am the owner of this company. I built this company from the scratch, and somebody may say, oh, you are being so proud. No, it's not being about proud. That person, you asked him to tell about himself. Now he is telling about his introduction. It's not about being proud. So Arjuna asked question, and Krishna is now going to explain about his opulences. And how does Krishna start? Aham Atma Gudhakesha Sarva Bhutasya Sitaha Aham Adisya Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Anta Eva Cha. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the heart of all the living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all being. So Krishna is starting with, first of all, I am the super soul, Paramatma, sitting in everybody's heart. And Krishna is addressing Arjuna with the name Gudhakesha. Now, Gudhakesha has many different meanings. Gudhakesha, one meaning is Gudhak Isha. Gudhak means ignorance. Isha means the controller, one who has won over the ignorance. Also, it means one who has won over the sleep. So Arjuna has won over the sleep. Arjuna has won over the ignorance. So Arjuna is addressed as Gudhakesha, but it starts with as if Arjuna is in ignorance. Arjuna is in doubt, right? That's how Bhagavad Gita started. Arjuna asked the question that I'm confused about my duty. You please instruct me. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I'm forgotten about, become confused about my duties. Now you please instruct me. I'm a soul surrendered unto you. I'm your disciple. That's how it starts. But Arjuna, at many places in Bhagavad Gita, is addressed as Gudha who has won over ignorance. Also, the meaning of Gudha the another meaning is Guda. Guda means sweet, jaggery. Ka refers to Brahma. And Isha addresses Lord Shiva. So Gudha means somebody who gives sweetness to even Brahma and Shiva. So the devotee of the Lord, he even gives sweetness to Brahma and Shiva also. He gives pleasure to them also based on his attraction for the Supreme Lord, based on his transcendental realizations. So Arjuna is addressed as Gudhakesha, and Krishna is telling that I am the super soul. Aham Atma. Sarva Bhutasya. I am the super soul for every living entity. And I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all being. Beginning means how Krishna is the beginning for everything. Because of Krishna, the child grows. How the child grows from day one to that 9-month old in the womb of the mother, that's also by the mercy of Krishna. And at the end, everybody has to die. Krishna comes in the form of death. He's going to mention that Vibhuti also in the coming verses. And in the middle, Krishna is the cause of maintaining everybody. Sometimes we may think, oh, I'm maintaining this body. But in reality, we have very little control on this body. Many of the things within this body are going without our knowledge, without our awareness, without our control. Okay, the science says only 5% we have control in the body, what things are happening within the body. We eat the food, how the food get digested, how the food, that energy transfers to different organs of the body, to different segments of the body, how we are breathing, how the oxygen, that energy reaches into each and every atom and molecule within the body. All these things are beyond our control. We may think, oh, I want to control this body, I want to understand about my body, what is happening inside, but it's beyond our control. Krishna is maintaining what is happening within our body. So there are two type of activity which happen, voluntary and involuntary. Okay, so voluntary activities means which we know, which we can control. I have the control how I want to sit. But then while sitting, whatever happening inside the body is beyond my control. So all those are involuntary activities, how the different muscles are behaving in the body. So that's why Krishna is maintaining everybody. So Krishna says, I am the beginning, the middle, and end of all beings. And now Krishna start explaining the external opulences which are present in front of our eyes, how we can relate those opulences to Krishna. So Krishna says, Adityanam aham Vishnur Jyotisham Ravir Amushman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. So there are different illuminaries which give light. There are nakshatras. There are, here Krishna is talking about the stars, nakshatra, adityas. So among the adityas, Krishna says, I am Vishnu. So here it's not speaking about Lord Vishnu. This Vishnu is one of the different adityas. Like the sun travels. There are 12 what we call as 12 nakshatras. and one of them is addressed as Vishnu. So among the Adityas, Krishna says, I am Vishnu. And among the sources of light, Jyotirsham Pravinshuman, I am Surya. I am the radiant sun. And among the stars, I am the moon. So both sun and moon are great opulences within this world. And people get attracted to looking at the sun, the radiant sun, and in the night when the full moon is there, that full moon is also very opulent. People get attracted by looking at the moon. So both sun and moon, they give light, but their light is different. The power of that light is different. The sunlight has a lot of heat, but the moonlight has very calming, cooling effect. Okay? So the light is of different type. Sometimes we say sun is giving light and moon is reflecting that light. So in many places in Vedic scriptures also, moon is considered to be reflecting the light of sun. But at some other places it says moon has its own light, moon gives its light. So there is no contradiction while saying that. The reason is because there are 7 different type of fire. Yes, we know fire, we say generally fire, but fire also is of 7 different type. We know when we light the fire on the wood, we know that type of fire. But that is one type of fire. There are 7 types of fire. And same way that light is also 7 different type of light. The light which sun gives, moon cannot give that type of light. Moon just reflects that light. But moon also gives its own type of light also. So both sun and moon, they are great opulence within this material manifestation, and they represent the opulence of Krishna. While seeing the sun and moon, one should immediately remember Krishna, that they represent Krishna. And further, Krishna says, Vedanam Samavedo Asmi, Devanam Asmi Vasavaha, Indriyanam Manasyasmi, Bhutanam Asmi Chetanaha. Of the Vedas, I am Samaveda. There are 4 Vedas, Rigved, Yajurved, Atharvaved, Samaved. And different Vedas have different content. There is some overlap also, no doubt, but there is generally different content. In Rig Veda, there are many of the descriptions there based on for doing the yagyas. And Samaveda is very special in the sense Samaveda is sweet melodies describing the glories of the Supreme. So Samaveda. So that's why among the Vedas, Krishna says, I am the Samaveda. And among the Devatas, Devanam Asmi Vasava, I am Indra. Because Indra is very powerful among the Devatas. He is the king of the Devatas. So that represents the opulence of the Supreme Lord. Originally, Indra, Krishna has another name as Indra. And Indra, whoever is the king of Devata, is addressed by that name. And Indriyanam Manasyasmi, among the senses, I am mind. Now, our mind also represents the opulence of the Supreme Lord. Okay, because in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also it was says, mind has godlike power. Our mind is very powerful. And there is a saying that the mind can make hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. So that is a situation of one's mind while living in a very peaceful, happy situation. Also, somebody may become very miserable. The mind can make somebody very miserable. And if somebody's mind is pacified, mind is controlled, even though among miseries, the person may be very calm. So that is a state of mind which can keep us calm or which can make us miserable. So Indriyana Manasyasmi, Bhutanam Asmi Chetana, and among the living entities, I am the consciousness. Because without the presence of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Consciousness, the living entity cannot be active. Okay, so first this body is created, and within the body, the soul is present. Because of the soul, there is consciousness, but still this body is not active. And then the Supreme Lord enters within this body as the super soul, and then this body becomes active. तब जाके ये शरीर जो है वो चलायमान होता है. So that's why Krishna says, I am the living force in the living entities. And then further, Krishna talks about his opulences. Rudranam Shankraschasmi Vittesho Aksharasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Merum Shikrinam Aham. Among the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. And of the Vasus, I am fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru. So here, Rudra, there are 11 Rudras. And among them, Krishna is saying, I am Lord Shiva. So we know this Rudra takes birth from Brahma. Brahma first created the four Kumaras, the Chatush Kumaras, and Brahma had instructed them to fill the world with progeny to further create the population. And the four Kumaras, they were disinterested. They said, we are not interested in to engage in this activity. And Brahma became very angry, and from his eyebrows, Rudra come up. So like that, there are 11 Rudras, and one of them is Lord Shiva. So Krishna says, Rudranam Shankras Chasmi. Among the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. And among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kuvera. So generally, Rakshasa is considered bad, but Kubera is good among those bads. He is the treasurer of the Devatas. So that represents Krishna's opulence. Among the Vasus, he says, I am Agni, fire. And among the Shikrinam, among the mountains with very high peaks, I am Mount Meru. Meru is very high peak mountain. Now, when we are talking about all these opulences and all these different personalities, it does not mean that they themselves are individual representations of Krishna, different representations of Krishna, that we can start putting them on the altar and start worshipping them. When we talked about, oh, among the senses, I'm the mind, it's not that we start worshipping our mind, oh, our mind represents the Supreme Lord. Or we start worshipping any of these personalities thinking, oh, they are also representing Krishna. So here in this verse, one mention is of Shiva, of the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. And some of the people who are worshipper of Shiva, they take this particular segment, 1/4 of the verse, and they start to claim that in Bhagavad Gita, the ultimate conclusion is Lord Shiva is the supreme. There was one scholar from Kashmir, I'm forgetting his name, Arnav Gupta maybe. He gave the whole conclusion that, oh, Bhagavad Gita's ultimate conclusion is Lord Shiva is the supreme. This is what is mentioned here. Of the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. So Krishna is saying, oh, I am Shiva. So Shiva is the supreme personality of Godhead. And in Bhagavad Gita, there is no other reference of Lord Shiva except this one particular reference. And in 11th chapter, when Krishna shows his universal form, all these different personalities are shown in the universal form, and Shiva is one of them. So except that, there is no other reference. But people want to take this section and just twist the meaning and try to conclude that, oh, Shiva is the ultimate supreme personality of Godhead. No, that is not the conclusion here. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has spoken, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. I am the controller of everything. From me, everything comes out. And people just want to kind of, जैसे बोलते हैं ना, अर्थ का अनर्थ कर देना. They want to just concoct the whole meaning, change the whole meaning. And as I said, it's not, when Krishna is speaking about these various opulences, it does not mean we start treating these individuals as equivalent to Krishna and start worshipping. What it means is, it is just that they remind us of Krishna's opulence. Krishna, it should lead us towards Krishna. All these material manifestations, the glorious material manifestations, they take us towards Krishna. That's why Vibhuti Yogam. So further, Krishna speak about, so we are going to go quick from all these verses because it's Krishna is going to give various examples here or references here, how within this material world Krishna can be seen in everything. Among the priests, I am to be known as Brahaspati, and of the journals I am Kartikeya, and of the bodies of water I am the ocean. So here it says Purodhasama cha mukhyam mam Vidhi Partha Brahaspatim Senani Nam Aham Skanda Sarsam Asmi Sagara. Of the priest, know me to be the chief Brahaspati. So Brahaspati is chief among the priest. Like, so there are sages, many different type of sages. Some are referred as Rishi, some are referred as Maharishi, some are referred as the Purohits. So Purohit are somebody who is hired to perform certain yagyas. Okay, so they are performing the yagyas on the request of a yajman. So when they take the role of the Purohit, so they are known as this Purohit. And among such Purohits, Brahaspati, who is the chief priest of the Devatas. He is the guru of the Devatas and he is the chief priest for the Devatas who conduct these different yagyas for them. So among the priests, I am to be known as the chief priest Brahaspati. And among the journals, the commanders of military, I am Skanda. Skanda also, another name is Kartikeya. He is the son of Shiva and Parvati, who is the chief commander of the army of Devatas. And among the water bodies, I am to be known as the ocean, because among the different water bodies, ocean is so vast, so big, so great. Nobody can measure the depth and length and width of the ocean. Ocean is so vast. So that represents, that great opulence represents Krishna's opulence. And further, Krishna says, among the great sages I am Bhrigu. See, now earlier he said, among the chief priests I am Brihaspati. Here he's talking about Maharishis. Maharishis who are not interested in certain Karamkandi yagyas, but they are more interested into the transcendence. So Maharishi Nam Bhrigur Aham. I am sage Bhrigu. And among the sound vibrations, the transcendental sound vibrations, Aham, Krishna says, Omkara. I am the Omkara. Omkara represents the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. And Yajnanam Japa Yajnasmi. Among the Yajnas, I am the Japa Yajna. So when we talk about different Yajnas, and there are different type of sacrifices done in the Yajnas. Okay, in some Yajnas, there is some Ahuti done, some wealth is sacrificed, some grains are sacrificed. But here, Japa Yajna is the type of Yajna where our consciousness is sacrificed, where we absorb, we put our consciousness onto the sound vibration. So that same Supreme Lord manifests in the form of the sound vibration. Japa Yajna. So Yajnanam Japa Yajna Asmi. So when we talk about Yajna, it's not only the fire sacrifice where some grains or something is sacrificed as Ahuti in that, but here our Chetana, our consciousness is absorbed on the Supreme Lord. And that is the highest type of Yajna. Because absorbing our concentration on the Supreme, that is the highest level of sacrifice which we can do for the Supreme. And Sthavaranam Himalaya, among the immovables. So there are two words come in scriptures, Sthavar and Jangana. Sthavara means what is immovable, and Jangha is something which is movable. So Sthavranam Himalaya. I'm among the immovable things, I am Himalayas. Now, one may say earlier Krishna mentioned among the Shikhranam, I am Meru. So what is the difference here? Earlier Krishna says among the mountains, I am the Mount Meru. Now here Krishna is saying the Himalayas also. So there are two different things. Mount Meru is known for the peaks, Shikhara. Okay, so earlier Krishna was talking about some mountain which is very tall. So for that, he is representing Mount Meru. But the Sthavaranam Himalaya is known for its depth and width, is the size, overall depth and width. That is Himalaya. Himalaya is so big and gigantic. So among the immovable things, I am Himalayas. And next, Krishna says, Ashwatha Sarva Vrikshanam, Devarishinam cha Naradaha, Gandharvanam Chitratha, Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. Of all the trees, I am the banyan tree. And of all the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitratha. And among the perfected beings, I am sage Kapila. So banyan tree, the Ashwatha tree, is so big. The ordinary tree can be cut easily, but cutting down a banyan tree is very difficult because banyan tree has so many branches and sub branches, and it spreads over a big vast land also. Sometimes it spreads so much. So among the trees, when we see the banyan tree, that also should remind us of the opulence of Krishna. Devrishi Nam cha Narada, and among the sages, among the demigods, I am Narada. In Gandharvas, Chitratha, and among the perfected sages, perfected beings, I'm Kapila. So Kapila is actually Krishna, one of the incarnations of Krishna. And Krishna is here giving the example also that among the perfected beings, because he appeared as a sage at that time. So among the perfected beings, I am sage Kapila. And of the horses, know me to be Uchashrava, which is produced during the churning of the ocean. Okay, when they churn the milk ocean, from there Uchashrava comes out, and Indra took that horse. So among the horses, know me to be Uchashrava, Eravata Nam Gajendra Nam, Eravatam Gajendra Nam. And among the lordly elephants, I am Airavata. So Gajendra itself, one elephant by the name Gajendra, right? Gajendra Moksha Leela. The Gajendra meaning is the king among the elephants. And one of the king among the elephants is Airavata. Among the lordly elephants, she says, I am Airavata. So Airavata also actually came out of the churning of the ocean, which was taken by Indra, the white elephant. And it's a very powerful. When Indra rides on that Airavata with his thunderbolt, the enemies, their hearts are shattered. It strike fear in their heart. So among the elephants, I am to be known as Airavata, Naranam cha Naradhipam. And among the men, I am the monarch. I am the king. So king is a representation of the Supreme Lord. He is representing the Supreme Lord. Now, it does not mean that any king can claim himself to be the Supreme Lord. They are representative of the Supreme Lord, not the replacement of the Supreme Lord. So one very important point. So again, when we see again all these opulences and all these different personalities mentioned here, they are representative of Krishna. They are representative of the Supreme Lord, not as a replacement of the Supreme Lord. Okay, remember that point. It's not that we keep them all on the altar and start worshipping them as a replacement for Krishna. So there was such king, one of the king as Veena. Okay, it comes in fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he started considering himself as the Supreme Lord. He says, I should be worshipped. There is no need to worship Vishnu. Stop the worship of anybody else and worship me as the Supreme Lord. I am the Supreme Lord. I am the not just as a representative, but I am the Supreme Lord. So he wanted to replace the Supreme Lord and become himself as the Supreme. So the king is representative of the Supreme Lord. Now there are many atheist king also, but the point is the king is in generally as a representative of the Supreme Lord. But if somebody becomes atheist and want to demean the existence of God and want to position himself as a replacement for God, then that person can be destroyed also. So in case of Veena, the sages, they, by chanting of the mantras, they destroyed him because he wanted to replace the Supreme Lord, wanted to stop all the worship. Further, Krishna says, of the weapons I am thunderbolt, and among the cows I am Surabhi, of the causes of procreation I am Kandharpa, a Kamadev, and the god of love, and among the serpents I am Vasuki. Okay, so here also Krishna will speak two times. One, now he is saying among the Sarpanam Asmi Vasuki. So the serpents, so there are snakes and there are the many-headed snakes. So there are two type of snakes. Okay, the snakes and nagas. The snake is the single-headed, the single-hooded one, and the nagas are with multiple hoods also. So among that, he will say, I am Anantasesh. Among the Sarpanam, I am Vasuki. Among the Nagas, I am Anantasesh. So here in this verse, Krishna is saying, among the weapons, I'm Thunderbolt. Among the cows, I'm Surabhi. And among the causes of procreation, I am Kamadev. And among the serpents, I am Vasuki. See, in the next verse itself, it came. Anantas Chasmi Naganam. Among the Nagas, I am Anantasesh. And among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Among the Pitras, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. So again, all these are powerful personalities. And seeing those remind us of Krishna and connect us with Krishna. So we are going to quickly read through all the opulences of Krishna. I don't think there is too much to discuss among this. Krishna is just referring many different super excellent manifestations within this material world. Among the Daityas, I am the devoted Prahalad. Among the subduers, I am time, Kala, because time is very powerful. Time destroys everything and time heals everything. Okay? जैसे बोलते हैं ना, समय सब घाव भर देता है. So with time, everything changes. So time is very powerful. And among the beasts, I am the lion. And among the birds, I am Garuda. Of the purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapon, I am Rama. Of the fishes, I am shark. And of the flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Of all the creations, I am the beginning and the end of, and also the middle, which Krishna had earlier also spoken. And among all the Vidyas, Adhyatam Vidya Vidyanam. So among all the learnings, among all the Vidyas, Krishna represents the spiritual science of the self, Adhyatam Vidya. And among the logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Among the letters, I am letter A. Why A? Because A is present in every other letter. If any other letter which we have in our Devanagari, every letter has Ka. When we say, A, Every other letter has a sound in that. So ka, kha, ga, gha, all the letters have sound of a included in that. So among the letters, Krishna says, I am letter a. And among also, I am also the inexhaustible time. And of the creators, I am Brahma. I am the all-devouring death. Mrityuhu sarva haraschaham. So I come in the form of death, which takes away everything. And among the women, I'm the fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So the super excellent qualities of the woman, which is patience, forgiveness, steadfastness, the fine speech, they all represent the opulence of Krishna. Among the hymns in the Samaved, I am the Brihat Sama. Of the poetry, I am Gayatri. Of the months, I am Margashirsha. And of the seasons, I am the flower-bearing spring. I am also the gambling of the cheats, and of the splendid, I am the splendor. I am the victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. So Dyutanam Chalayatam Asmi. So Krishna says, among the gambling of the cheats, I am also the gambling of the cheats. So nobody can cheat Krishna. For even the cheaters, Krishna says, I am the biggest cheater. Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. Of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. And of the sages, I am Vyas. Among the great thinkers, I am Ushana. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment. Dando Damayatamasmi. So to suppress any sort of the state of to basically to bring law and order, sometimes punishment has to be given. So Krishna says to suppress any sort of lawlessness, I am the punishment. And O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. So like that, Krishna speak about his opulences through which we can connect with Krishna. And finally, Krishna says, there is no end to my divine manifestations. I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. And all these opulences, they just come from a spark of my splendor. So there are many opulences, but I have spoken only a few. And there is no need there, Arjuna, for this detailed knowledge. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So when somebody understands that Krishna is maintaining and supporting everything, in that way they develop that faith in Krishna. More we hear about Krishna, more we develop that faith in Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And when we see anything great in this material world, immediately that reminds us of Krishna. So that is the purpose of Arjuna's asking to describe the opulences. So that by seeing these material manifestation, how we can remember Krishna, how we can see Krishna in everything and everywhere. Okay. So like that, Krishna is speaking about his Vibhuti and Vibhuti Yoga, how we can connect with Krishna by those super excellent manifestations within this material world. So ultimate purpose is, it is to know the one among many and how that one among many can take us to one beyond many, beyond this material world. And all these opulences are not as a replacement for Krishna, they are representations of Krishna. Okay, so we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. So I know I went very fast. We just wanted to go over these different opulences which Krishna is describing. If anybody has anything to add, any particular question, please feel free to ask. Hare Krishna, Vridhana Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Um, so actually, you were telling that the super soul actually activates the body. But I remember reading that the super soul enters every atom in this material world. So
Yeah.
always cannot understand if it's also non-living things. I mean, like that, every atom as in, is it only with the spirit or something?
Yes, super soul enters into everything, into every atom, every molecule of this material world. And because of the presence of the super soul, the living entity is able to be active. Okay. Even though the super soul is present within the non-moving things also, it doesn't mean that non-moving things become moving or they also become active. But the purpose of presence of the super soul within this body is because of his presence, actually, this body becomes active. And moreover, that he is situated within the living entity, in the heart of the living entity, as Updrashta Anumantacha, that he is just witnessing all the activities of the living entity and sanctioning those based on their previous karmic reaction and their desires. So, Updrashta Anumantacha. So, he is witnessing, kind of noticing down all our activities and sanctioning our based on our different desires and previous bank balance.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anything else?
Prabhuji, who is Deval and Sita? I never heard of those two people. But
Yeah, I mean, they are also, their names are mentioned. They are again the great sages, like we have so many great sages as Vyasadev, Vishwamitra, and all that. And even when Bhishma Pitama's passing away is described, right, at that time, all the different sages assemble there. So at that time also, so many names are mentioned. Among them also their names come. That all these sages arrived at that time when Yudhishthira Maharaj was coming to meet Bhishma Pitama. Okay, so at that time the news spread everywhere. Okay, even though there was no cell phone system to send WhatsApp messages or anything, but the message spread all across the universes, and all these sages immediately they also arrived at that time. So many names are mentioned at that time also, that all these such sages came and sat in the assembly. And same way when Shukdev Goswami is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. At that time also, all these names are mentioned, that all these great sages also came and they were also sitting in this assembly when Shukdev Goswami was speaking Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So to your question, I also do not know any specific pastime related to Devala Sita. No particular specific instance, particular pastime comes to my mind as of now. But I can try to look more and see if other some references are there.
okay, because I don't know myself, to tell you the truth. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, that was very good.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Do you have any question?
No.
Okay. Okay. If no more questions, I think we can end it here. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bye.